Hey folks, I want to let you know about one of my favorite sponsors of the show, AppFigures. AppFigures is the leading platform for app makers to track and grow their apps. It's packed with tools for reporting, optimization, and competitive intelligence. You want to know what your competitors are doing, and maybe there's some lessons there to learn? AppFigures is going to teach you how to get your app noticed in the App Store. We all want to make great apps, but if nobody notices, it's not worth your time and money. They have some great ways to stay on top of numbers, whether it's Apple or Google Play if you have any Android apps. They help you guide you on what you can do to get your app noticed in the App Store. They bring in all sorts of core metrics as well. So if you do anything with MRR or churn and you want to know what's going on, definitely take a look at what AppFigures has to offer. Ariel has a really great YouTube channel and newsletter you should check out, This Week in Apps. He posts some of the latest news and latest trends in the App Store because we all know not only do your customers change, but App Store rules change all the time. So you're going to want to check that out. He also does some live keyword takedowns. Definitely check that out on their YouTube channel as well to see how your app maybe could improve the way it lists out different keywords. If you like it, take some time right now. Go to appfigures.com and use the special code EMPOWER3030 to get 30% off for the next 3 months. There's no reason for you not to try this out. So this is what I want you to do. After you listen to this, try out AppFigures, use the special code EMPOWER3030 and get 30% off so you can see how to get your app noticed in the App Store. Thank you so much to Ariel and AppFigures for sponsoring today's episode. Hey, thank you for joining me again for another episode of Empower Apps. I'm your host, Leo Dan. Today, I'm joined once again by Majid Jabrayilov. Majid, thank you so much for coming on again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me again.
You're well known for doing a lot of posts on SwiftUI with Swift with Majid. But I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself before we get started.
Yeah, so I'm an iOS developer. I build apps related to health, and I try to cover my experience on my blog. So I mostly build apps in SwiftUI at the moment. So mainly the content on my blog is all about SwiftUI.
Thank you so much for coming on again. I'm a big fan of your apps. I've been using Fastbot, and we've been chatting on Twitter about Fastbot quite a bit. So glad to have you on. So today I wanted to focus on this idea that you posted on your blog about microapps or a microapps architecture. You want to kind of explain what exactly you mean by that?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to mention that the first touch to the microapps architecture for me was when I find the article by Geolodi. This was the Meet the Microapps Architecture. Yeah, so many years ago.
And we've had Geo on the show talking about SwiftUI testing. So, yeah.
And many years ago, I have some experience with web services, and I just read this article and thought, so this is like web services, but for mobile apps, yeah? And it's kind of good because it solves some of our problems that we have right now at the moment. So microapps architecture, it's like microservices, but for mobile apps. So we divide the app into many modules and combine them together into the single app. So, and it has its own benefits, pros and cons, and we'll cover it together.
What is a good way of knowing whether something should be divided up into a module? What's a good indication or code smell for that?
Yeah, so basically I start dividing my app into a few modules. So first I start with the core layer. Like, for example, I can have foundation where I have stuff like extensions for string, for numbers. In another module, I can have networking layer. Another module can be a storage layer or caching layer. So first of all, I starting with this foundation stuff, like many small modules that I will include into high-level modules. Yep. So another idea to extract into a single module, for example, if you have a feature in your app, for example, it might be search feature. Yeah, and you can extract it into a dedicated module, or maybe I build app at the moment that allows you to track your food, and there is a model called food details that I include import to many other modules, and this is just reusable piece of code that I want to keep in one place and don't want to compile it every time because it doesn't change too often, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How do you avoid having like cross dependencies when you're separating everything out into different modules? Do you know what I mean?
Yep. So first of all, it's really hard to when you start to extracting models, you think that okay, everything should be a single module, right? But it's not a good idea because it adds a lot of complexity to your project. And I have basically an app, really cool app called Build Graph. I think we should add it to the show notes. So
Yeah.
this app shows nice charts, nice graphs about the Swift package dependencies in your project.
Oh, cool. Is this a Mac app or a command line tool?
Yeah,
or?
this is Mac app.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
awesome.
Mac app, and it's all the arrows, all the circles for dependencies, and it's clearly indicate you when you doing something crazy, when you have too many modules or too small modules that you have to import everywhere because it doesn't make any sense to extract stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, my whole thing is like when you separate stuff out, like I try to keep them ignorant, I guess, if you know what I mean, of like what the other module, how it does what it does, and just that's where like protocol oriented programming really comes in, and just keeping that stuff separated and using protocols as a way to understand what the like how they communicate, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What one of the things I noticed from your articles is, well, we had like an episode a couple of years ago with Abby about modularization, and back then Swift packages weren't as big of a deal, but she talked about like how she separated her apps into frameworks. But I noticed in your article you had a big emphasis on Swift Package Manager. Why I guess why is that, and like how did you find using Swift packages as a way to modularize your app into microapps? How comfortable did you get with that?
Yeah, so Swift Package Manager became the heart of this approach, but it doesn't make. But you can use any other modularization approach. So you can use exe frameworks or just targets. It's up to you. But I find Swift Package Manager is just a great solution for this microapps architecture approach. So one of the benefits that we don't have Xcode project file here, and all the stuff just declare it in the package.swift. Yeah, and you should not mention all the files in the project. You just mention folders that you need. Yeah, so you just get rid of a lot of Git conflicts when somebody on your team added another file and you removed another file and you having a conflict.
Yeah.
So it solved this problem, but it also allows you easily create folders and define them as independent targets. So targets in the language of Swift Package Manager is just a module, right? So
Right.
it's
just a directory
like
under sources.
Yep. Yeah, this is just a folder on the file system. And Swift Package Manager maintain it as separated module. So, and you can easily just create dependencies, list all the modules you have, and list the dependencies. Like if you have two modules that share another module as dependency, you can just define it in package.swift file. Yeah, and this is just another Swift file, so it's easy to maintain. This is readable code, so this is not something like Xcode project file, which is also string also readable, but it's not too easy to understand what's going on there.
Yeah, good luck merging that. Like I don't even use Xcode projects anymore. Like I just have a bunch of Swift packages, and I use like Xcode Gen to just generate the Xcode project. And like there's like one Swift file in my app, but everything is in a Swift package. So I'm like in the same boat. And I just like you said, like I don't want to deal with Xcode projects. It's kind of like the what like the ugly brother, I guess, of like storyboards, where it's like nobody understands what the heck is going on, and good luck merging it. And like, yeah, it's just nice to get away with that kind of dependency. And like you could do a lot as far as Swift packages, as far as building and testing without even opening Xcode, if you need to. So yeah, I'm in the same boat on that. What?
Yeah, so it's really similar to a storyboard problem, but the good thing about storyboard that you can easily get rid of storyboard and do anything just in code, right? But with Xcode project files, it's not possible. You have to have at least small part of your code in define it in Xcode project file, right? Even if you use Swift Package Manager.
Well, that's why I use Xcode Gen or Toist, is that way I don't have to like check in my project. I can just check in the specs and then it builds the Xcode project every time. So you had, I was just like kind of like looking at your articles, and you kind of have a different like classification of different modules. You have some that are features, some that contain resources and like strings, essentially. Kind of, do you want to explain how that works and what you mean by those different categorizations of modules?
Yeah, so as I say, so you can have foundational modules. So for example, it might be a networking layer. Like you are going to import networking layer in a lot of other modules, right? Actually, every other module where you are going to make an HTTP request, for example, and you can have just another type of foundational module, which is extensions on your on Swift types that we have in standard library, like collections, strings, and stuff like that. Yeah, so this type of modules we're going to import a lot of times into other modules, but you also have feature modules. It is a much broader aspect. So this is like when you have an app where you have login flow, it might be a login feature, which have, for example, or authentication feature. It contains login screen, registration, email verification, stuff like that. And this can live in a single module, because usually you don't need only authorization, like email forwarding. You need all this stuff, right? Like login flow and registration. So it can live in a single module, and you can build a dedicated app, a small app, micro apps that have only this authorization module included, and just provide you to quality assurance team to verify that everything works well. So this is the difference between feature modules and foundation modules.
How many modules do you have in a typical app of yours, and how big are they, I guess, each one?
Yeah, it all depends on the app, but yeah, in my latest app, I have about 30 modules at the moment.
30?
Yeah.
30.
Yes.
Okay. And how many files are in each of these modules?
About 7-8 files. At least.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, then, but I also have huge, not huge, but big modules. Like, for example, I have a health module, which maintain all the health kit related stuff, all the calculations, all the manipulating with the health kit storage, fetching, statistics, and stuff like that. And there is much more files, about 50 files there. Yeah, so it all depends on the usage.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and you obviously do a lot of health kits, so it kind of makes sense. how has it been as far as like Swift UI is concerned? I'm using that with Swift Package Manager. Like, do things like you have no problems with like live previews or anything like that, or have you run into any issues there?
Yeah, so you might have an issue if you are importing a module that have resources.
Okay.
So yeah, it can be a problem for you, but there is a workaround that solves the issue. So there is no anything you can't solve at the moment, and everything can be solved with some workarounds. And we hope that with the new Xcode after DubDub, we'll not this. We'll not do this stuff to show the previews.
Yeah, live previews. I mean, the one thing I've found is I will create the UI in the Swift package, but the live preview will be in a project, if you know what I mean. So it'll be like in the actual outside of the Swift package, and then that way I haven't had issues with live. That's my workaround for live previews. I don't know what other workarounds you've run into.
Yeah, so basically, you have a problem when you are. I have a problem with when I try to accessing local resources from the package, from the module, and there was a problem with the bundle because Xcode generates module bundles for every module, and you have to create because of value types you can't access this bundle identifier, stuff like that, and you have to just create some stub class, stub reference type to access this bundle stuff.
Yeah, exactly. What are how how have you done testing, I guess, by using this microapp architecture? Has it helped in that way, or has it made it more challenging, or what have you found there?
So can we go back to previous topic, because I think I forgot to mention that previews in Microapps architecture, one of the benefits of Microapps architecture is that previews load so fast because you don't need compile all the stuff, all the source
What do you mean by
code.
that exactly? How is it faster?
Yeah, it's a lot faster, right? Because, for example, when you have a dedicated module and you want to show a preview, Xcode doesn't compile all the project. It just compiles the dedicated module, and the preview loads just opens show faster.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What other pros have you found besides that?
Yeah. So for me, the best thing about Microapps architecture is the compile time improvement. So you just compile the stuff that changed, and that's why previews runs a lot faster. But the second thing about Microapps architecture I really love is the way it allows you to separate concerns, right? Because when you're building an app that lives in the single module, everything is internal, but internal in terms of a single module means public, right? Because you can access anything that is internal in the current module, and you have to think twice to model your public interfaces. Yeah, it allows you to bring a better API design to your project.
Right. And I think it goes back to like protocol oriented programming and the ideas like you said, everything is separated out. And what I found is like it helps with like unit testing, because then it teaches me to test in isolation, which I think is one of the big challenges with unit testing is people are like, oh, but how do I deal with the database? How do I deal with networking? It's like, no, you want to test it in each piece in isolation. Like you said, separation and concerns on that. As far as like building and like deploying, like I guess not deploying isn't the word I want to use, archiving and uploading, has that worked pretty smoothly in Xcode, even though you're using all these like Swift packages, so to speak?
Yeah, it works pretty well. I don't have any problems with that.
Okay.
But let me go back to unit testing topic. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of testing, and with Microapps architecture, it's even better because when you have a small dedicated module, it's so easy to cover it with tests, right? When you have
Yeah.
a big module, you think, oh, so many tests I have to write. But
Right.
when you have just a few classes or a few files, and you can easily just cover them with tests and just check your coverage and just get another motivation when you see that you have pretty well coverage here.
Was there anything else you wanted to mention? I want to make sure we cover everything you wanted to talk about when it comes to micro apps and the benefits.
So when you work in a big team, for example, when are you working on a huge project, you can have multiple teams working on multiple different features, and every team can just deploy to test flight or any other sources as a source to your quality assurance team. So you can just build a lot of micro apps that can be combined in the single app when you are just deploying to App Store, but you can deliver it to your quality assurance team as small chunks of your app to verify if it's working well without waiting to for other team to finalize its own tasks, right? You can just finish your module, build your micro app, and deliver to your quality assurance team.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about that. We just had an article we put out on the Bright Digital website about that and like breaking things apart into smaller pieces. One thing actually I wanted to ask is, it's called Microapps Architecture. How is it really like each Swift package is an app, or it's just a module? I want to make sure we get that clarification. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Yeah, no. Not every module is
Yeah.
an app because you can have foundational stuff, which is not
Right.
you are not going to deliver. For example, networking layer, right? But
Right.
every feature, we can say that every feature
Is a
module
piece
can
of
be
the app or a
delivered.
component of the app, maybe?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure we made that clarification because I feel like people are like, how do you do an app in a Swift package? Because you can't really do an app in a Swift
Yeah.
package. But these are each individual libraries or modules or Swift packages, which serve a function that could be foundational, but in some ways could just be like a feature or component of an app that is kind of a single screen almost in a way, right?
Yeah.
So
For
it's not.
example, I'm working on as I said, on the food logging app, and in my app I have a feature, search feature, which is just looking for food and show you calorie stuff like macronutrients and stuff like that. And I just use it for many months on my phone, just as delivered as dedicated feature
Nice.
as micro app, just to understand what I eat without combining it with other features to build all the app.
And like when you integrate it into your app isn't gonna like care about how it does the search feature. It just knows it can plug it in, and that there might be certain protocol implementations you need, but for the most part, it's ignorant of what the search feature is. And like you said, separation of concerns there with the search feature and the rest of the app.
Yep.
I want to talk about dependency injection.
Yep.
I do it like I have like some sort of like the part of going with the protocol oriented approach and separation of concerns is that everything is a protocol. And I kind of do like like I use initializers with defaults and optionals. So that way in testing, I can have a mock that I could put in. I'm curious, like, what approach do you take when it comes to this, like, microapps architecture stuff, and how you do a dependency injection there?
Yeah, so I tried to build my feature modules completely isolated. So yeah, I want to build an micro app from feature model, and I want to put inside all the stuff it needs. So I don't use protocols for dependency injection because I believe that protocols is good way to model stuff when you have a lot of instances, a lot of different classes. For example, collection type have a lot of collection protocol has a lot of implementations, right? Like arrays, strings, and stuff like that. But when you have a protocol for just real implementation and mock, I'm not sure that it's a good way to build stuff like that. And I use closures. So I just
nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
So when I have a feature model, it just have a struct field with a few closures that it depend on. That's it. When you have a coordination layer, you just populate this closures with the functions from your service classes or stuff like that. Because, for example, in my search feature, I don't want to put inside all the health module stuff. I just put the closure that dedicated to health search. Does it make sense?
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. I think like the problem that I've run into, like, I think I should do that approach more often, first of all. But I think the problem I've run into with depending on only a closure is sometimes I want a type to do multiple related things, or it stores something, for instance. And in that case, like a protocol, you kind of have to do a protocol. But like you said, if it's one method or one function, like closures make complete sense. Yeah, I like that. I like that approach a lot.
Yeah, and so you have two benefits here, actually. So first of all, your feature module, not only feature module, it just can be a view model or something like that. So your view model doesn't have access to all the stuff. For example, if I have a search view model, which searching using HealthKit, you don't have access to all the methods from my health store, right? Like savings, statistics, and stuff. You just have a closure dedicated to search. That's it. So you can't accidentally call other methods. You just have only one way to do. But the second benefit is the mocking. So it's really hard to mock the protocol when you have a bunch of methods there, right? For example, if I extract the health store into protocol, so it will have a lot of functions for storing, for saving, for fetching, for calculating, and so. And if I want to mark just searching, I have to stop all these functions, right?
Yeah. So what I would typically do, just kind of giving my side of the story, is I would never mock health store. I would create a protocol which does whatever I need it to do, and then make sure that health store, for instance, implements it. And then when I mock the protocol, I only need to mock what that protocol does, as opposed to everything that health store does. I don't know. That's the way I have typically done it. When I need it, I will create a separate protocol and not do everything the health store does, because I don't need it. So yeah, I do like that approach with closures. I think I want to try that out a little bit more. Is there any concerns with like garbage collection and things like that, like holding on to it? Especially if like the function is like is it instance method as opposed to a static method? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I get it. So usually I define the dependencies struct. So I use value types here. I define the dependency struct in the in view model, and just this dependency struct define just fields closures. Yeah,
got it. So then there's no concern because it's just right. That makes total sense.
There is a great article, How to Control the World, that describes
I was just about to ask
details.
about that. But I was going to say, one of the things you mentioned in your article is the point-free method, which I've heard about before concerning like this world idea. You want to explain what that is and how that fits into what you talk about in your article series?
Yeah, so it's a really similar concept. So just actually inspired by this idea defined in the How to Control the World article. So every feature, every module that have any dependencies just has a struct called dependencies and define all the variables as all the fields as closures, all the dependencies that it need as closures. And when you create the feature, you just pass this value type, this struct instance of dependency struct populated with all the functions from your services, from your storage stuff, from your networking stuff, all you need.
Yeah, and we'll post a link to that. I think Point Free usually have videos out, so there might be a video attached to this. So we'll definitely put that in the show notes as well. So let's talk about DubDub.
Okay.
So let's start off by talking about what do you expect from DubDub this year? Not what you wish or what you're excited about. What do you think is going to come out this year from DubDub?
Yeah, so I believe it's going to be a really huge DubDub this year because I saw Swift logo on the DubDub's website, and I'm not sure what does it mean, but it's going to be huge. Yeah, so as always, my wishes for DubDub is a lot of stuff in Swift UI. Yeah, so I would like to see that.
I think that goes without saying. Swift UI, it's going to be something. But what in particular do you think is going to be the big deal? This, by the way, is the last episode before the WWDC episode, so I just want to let you know. A lot of pressure on you as far as like what you predict here.
Okay, so in terms of Swift UI, I would like to see. Okay, as always, we want to see that all these bugs are fixed, but I'm not sure that that's going to happen. But yeah, one of my wishes is to see something like compositional layout, like we have collection view and compositional layout in UIKit, but we don't have something similar in Swift UI.
Explain it, because I'm actually not quite familiar. What is compositional layout? What do you mean by that in regards to
compositional layout is just a new declarative approach that allows you to build collection views in UIKit in really nice way. So it gives you a lot of ready-to-use small chunks of layouts, like App Store app. On iOS built with compositional layout and all these sections, all this paging stuff, all this small chunks is just parts of compositional layout, and it's really easy to use on UIKit, but we don't have similar stuff in UIKit.
Are you talking like spanning, like that kind of stuff, where you span something like rows and columns and things like that? Is that what you mean?
Yep, not only spanning, but it's also have a lot of ready-to-use animations, like paging stuff.
Yeah, I just a side note, I've been doing a lot of HTML work lately, and I have don't tell anybody this, but I really enjoy it. And I've been doing a lot of Tailwind CSS, and like the ability to like control stuff in CSS is just like so much faster and like simpler in a lot of ways. Just like compared with UIKit or Swift UI, obviously. But yeah, I could see where you're coming from with like the row. Like I could do that easily in HTML, but I'm still a novice when it comes to collection views anyways. So maybe this is a good opportunity to like if they do a compositional layout thing in Swift UI.
So
actually, I want to go next. I think that we're going to have a better navigation API in Swift UI. I think that's going to be a big thing. I think, it's too locked down and too simple in Swift UI. I think this is the time that they're gonna They're going to move that up into their feature set.
Yeah, for sure.
What else do you want to predict?
Yeah, so navigation is really important because right now it's just baked by UI navigation controller, and we can't do anything complex, right?
Right. How do you do it? Do you still use UI navigation controller, or do you use the built-in stuff in SwiftUI?
So I built small abstraction on top of navigation link in SwiftUI, but I don't want to do this for my projects because this kind of stuff should be ready out of the box, right?
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to predict when it comes to like SwiftUI updates?
I think the things should be really important, and it's time to focus on navigation and layouts, custom layout that should be easier to build in SwiftUI, because right now, if you want to build something in HStack or VStack, it's really easy. But if you want to do something custom, it's kind of you have to.
It's an uphill battle.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll probably see. I guess my other two predictions are improvements to SwiftUI on the Mac. I think we'll probably see that. I think there's going to be a big push for that. And I also think, well, this is maybe more of a wish than an expectation, but I do think this is the time has come for a big watchOS year. We have not had a big watchOS year in 3 years at least. I'm hoping that we have some major improvements in watchOS 9 because it's, I don't know. It's what do you call it? It hasn't gotten a lot of attention over the last few years. I feel like Apple Silicon and, yeah. Anyway,
so in terms So in terms of watches, I would like to see watch face API. So I would like to build my custom watch faces, and it will be really cool if we will be able to do that.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be super custom. Like, we're kind of getting there with complications, but I feel like layout, like the watch faces kind of suck, honestly. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm a info modular person, and like there's no other watch face like that where you have all that info in a digital format. And I don't know, what's your watch face right now?
I just use California at the moment.
Okay.
With 5 complications. Yeah.
What else do you wish this year for DubDub?
So another thing I would like to see SwiftUI-like implementation for core data. So declarative approach in core data without all this pain that we have.
Yeah. Or at least an abstraction layer on top of it. Like kind of, that's kind of what SwiftUI is, right? So yeah, there's a lot. Core data has a lot of weird Objective-C-ness to it, I guess, so to speak. Anything else about DubDub you want to talk about before we close out?
Nope. So the last thing I really hope to see, but this is like a wish, it's not expectation.
That's fine.
The full featured Xcode on iPadOS.
So have you played around with? I've not even touched Playgrounds on the iPad yet. I've not had the time. Have you?
Yep, I play around, but yeah. So you can publish your apps into the App Store. You can add Swift packages to your project. You can do a lot of things, and you can synchronize with your Xcode on desktop. But it's still something you are not going to use in your full-time work.
So I want to counter your wish with a counter wish. I want to see a simpler Xcode on the Mac that you know what I mean? Like I've kind of said that in the last few years, but like without all the old cruft. It's limited, but in a good way, if you know what I mean. Like there's a lot of things we don't need in Xcode that make it slow.
Like
that I don't think
storyboards.
most modern developers actually need. You know what I mean? Like you could cut out, like, this is an example, not a great example, but let's say you cut out interface builder, right?
Yep.
With a new version of Xcode. You can't build apps using storyboards. There's a lot of people who would like that and don't feel the need to do that anymore. And there's like, obviously there's a lot of apps out there that require it, and that's fine. But like for new apps, like, why do we need all this cruft that people aren't using anymore? So I don't know. Like Xcode's massive, right? It has a lot of big history. We've talked about it with my episode with Dominic a few weeks ago. So maybe we could use something a little bit simpler for Total, like focused on Swift UI development, you know, have like whatever new core data thing they come out with, and like make Xcode projects a lot simpler, streamline it. Yeah, I don't know. That would be
that's a good.
my wish. Just, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just one step. Like kind of like the music app. We all know the music app is not great, but it's better than iTunes used to be, where it did 5,000 things. Sure. So just kind of take that step in that direction. That would be nice to see. Anything else with DubDub? No. Are you going to California?
Nope, I didn't get the invitation this year.
I didn't register. So
okay.
Yeah, but I'll be chatting with Peter like I did last year from Compile Swift about the keynote and the State of the Union. So stay tuned for that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. Do you think we'll get glasses?
I hope so. Maybe VR AR headset, but not glasses.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of think I think they could, but they won't be great, and they might be like they might be like the Apple Watch Series 0, or maybe like the what was that, like that Mac Mini development kit that they came out for Apple Silicon. It'll be like a test device that kind of does the bare minimum of what they want it to do.
Yeah, I would like to get an SDK into the hands and just try to build something with that SDK.
Oh, dude, if you plug in like HealthKit stuff and you wear that while you're working out, assuming it can handle physical activity while you work out, that would be awesome. Right. You should do it. You should totally do that. Majid, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to mention before we close out?
Thanks for having me again. I would like to come again and just talk about the things we see in DubDub.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, if there's anybody I need to talk about Swift UI, it's you. Okay. So definitely folks should check out your blog, Swift with Majid. Anything else? Where can people find you online?
So you can find me on Twitter also. So this is twitter.com/Majid, and you can just follow my blog, swiftwithmajid.com.
And it's at MECID. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you can also find it on swiftwithmajid.com in the About section.
So check the show notes. We'll have all the links there. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We'll be back in a couple weeks, June 7th, June 8th. We'll release that episode with me and Peter, probably doing a crossover like we did last year, talking about the State of the Union, talking about the keynote. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast, wherever you're listening to. And if there's any topic you want me to cover, let me know. I'll probably be scheduling guests this summer, depending on what we talk about at WWDC. So we'll stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to talking to you again. Bye, everybody.